European Union says its new deforestation regulations can be an opportunity for Zimbabwe as the market is prepared to pay more for sustainably sourced goods with no link to forest degradation. The new regulations ensure that 7 commodity products, soy, beef, palm oil, wood, cocoa, coffee and rubber, all of which are major drivers of deforestation, will no longer be sold in the EU if sourced from areas affected by deforestation or forest degrading practices. EU Ambassador to Zimbabwe, Jobs van Kirkman, appeared on ZTN Prime's The Mint, where he spoke on the rules which will come into effect from the December 2024 for large businesses and December 2025 for SMEs.
I believe what people sometimes say, oh, this is a catastrophe for us. I'm actually not so sure because, as I said, the consumers in the EU are ready to pay a higher price. Now, if you are ready to pay a higher price, it means at the beginning of the value chain, you can pay more for labor. And if you look at it in that way, there could be an extremely positive impact. A positive impact for those who produce. And instead of having an absolute minimum wage, they get more money. They live better. There is a minimum of education and other things which are requirements. There is no child labor, and so on. So if that is properly applied, it should actually lead to a reduction of poverty at the beginning of the value chain.
Yeah, I think there's just we're going to need a lot more information on how these things work. But I know off the top of head, he's definitely correct. There is a very big market for sustainably sourced goods across the board, whether you're looking at your food products, your beauty products, your clothing, manufacturing. There's always a higher price tag on that. So it definitely is an opportunity. I think the enforcement of it and getting it... Because it's also, really sometimes it's also, I'm taking your word for it. So what framework is required, how expensive is putting in place some of the measures that need to be taken for you to actually get to that point, are things that do need to be unpacked. And I'm glad that they've given 2 different timelines, one being for big corporates, big organizations who can afford to implement some of these changes in a shorter period. And then for SMEs, they've given a longer period that allows them to also raise the capital required, because some of these are also very capital labor intensive in ensuring that, so for example, with your cows, it's setting up areas that are sustainably enabling them, because also there's also another price tag that comes with being grass-fed.
Yeah, organic has been a big thing over the last couple of years. Yeah.
That's also another cost. So organic, yes, but also sustainably organic. So there's all these things that come into play that do need to be taken into consideration. And I think a lot of educating and training on how to get these systems in place will be required for all our involved stakeholders to be able to actually effectively tap into those markets. And then also, how do I get my product there? How do I get my produce abroad?
You know what I love about this, especially from a macro level, is that, like the ambassador was highlighting, the effect of it is going to be felt not just in the pocket of whoever's carrying out the primary activity, but the whole industry, whether it's better wages and all those different things. So but I know, for example, with people who farm blueberries, for example, I know there's a very specific standard, and I think they actually didn't have, I remember one of my colleagues who's a farmer actually had to undergo through a workshop where they didn't tell you how to meet those sustainability standards. So you then see that the amount, the value that you then place on those blueberries, which get that certification, then becomes much higher. So I think if we're able to achieve this and create an ecosystem where we can create sustainable goods, I think we have a good climate. I think we have lots of land. I think as Zimbabwe, we shouldn't be too worried about trying to meet these kind of conditions, because it's not like we're short of rains or land or anything like that. So I think it could be an avenue to explore in terms of value addition to our products.
Absolutely. I think we already have one leg up in that a lot of our stuff is already naturally
organic,
produced and reared. I think it's the ensuring the sustainability bit that we now need to refine. But do share your thoughts with us on that and what we are discussing here on Morning Rush this morning.
Konapo Ipapo pa ZTN Prime, DSTV channel 294, the place to be.